This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Unette Gentry. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson. This segment of the news is brought to you by Silver State Health, bringing quality medical and psychiatric care to Pahrump. Call 775-505-1214 for an appointment.
Hope you're having a wonderful Groundhog's Day. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Unette Gentry. It's Tuesday, February 2nd.
Well, the Nevada State Office of the Attorney General has declined to press charges against Nye County Commissioner Leo Blundo, stemming from his arrest in November of last year. The criminal complaint was not filed, so no charges will be filed, and bail is exonerated. The Nye County Sheriff's Office arrested Commissioner Blundo after they received a complaint by Nye County administration. Blundo was arrested for misconduct of a public officer, unlawful commissions, personal profit, and compensation by a public officer, which are 2 felonies, a gross misdemeanor, and 2 misdemeanors. Nye County said that Blundo was involved in decisions about coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security, or CARES Act funding, that provided him personal monetary gain. Following an investigation, law enforcement says that Blundo voted on CARES Act policies that provided funding to the community for personal rent, business loss due to COVID-19, and PPE loss due to COVID-19. During the meetings that took place between August 4th and November 16th. They say that Blundo allegedly received in excess of $10,000 in CARES Act funds for residence rent and had not yet received funding for business rent assistance that he had applied for, and did not recuse himself on the agenda items and did not disclose that he was benefiting from these funds. Blundo denies these allegations.
And a motorcyclist is transported to Las Vegas Trauma Center after being seriously hurt in a car crash Tuesday morning here in Pahrump.
Traffic was shut down on westbound Highway 372 at West Street this morning for a 2-vehicle accident involving a motorcycle. The motorcycle rider sustained serious injuries and was transported via Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue Ground Ambulance to Mercy Air Base 21 and subsequently airlifted to UMC Trauma Center. The occupant inside the Hyundai sedan claimed no injuries at the time of the crash. Nevada Highway Patrol is investigating the cause of this accident. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies and auxiliary units also assisted with the crash. Traffic was shut down on westbound Highway, and Nicholas Von Alst was in court yesterday. His attorney has filed a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf challenging the felony murder law.
A writ of habeas corpus asks the court to show a valid reason for that person's detention. In the Von Alst case, the defense is challenging the Nevada felony murder rule that allows for a person to face first-degree murder charges if they commit certain felonies that result in someone's death. Nicholas Von Alst was arrested in connection with an incident that occurred on June 24, 2020. Von Alst, along with Kyle Bickerstaff, planned to steal a pistol from a person at gunpoint. A fight occurred in the process, and the person targeted for the robbery was allegedly pistol-whipped. The situation escalated into a gun battle, and the person being robbed shot Bickerstaff, who then died from his injuries. The attorney for the defense, Jason Ernst, argued that Von Alst was not the shooter, but the accomplice, and therefore should not face the charge of first-degree murder. Ernst went on to cite cases from across the country that backed his argument, while Von Alst watched via television from jail. He went on to cite a case from West Virginia saying that where the victim of the crime is the one pulling the trigger, there is no malice on the part of the co-perpetrator. The state rebutted these arguments, saying that the gun battle that began during the confrontation was a proactive act that began with Bickerstaff and Von Alst. The defendant planned the robbery and started the gun battle that resulted in the death of Bickerstaff. Judge Lane heard both arguments and then said he would take a few days to write his decision.
And a Pahrump woman who authorities say has a history of making false 911 calls is under arrest and facing a charge for her actions.
Mary Rittersdorf is under arrest and facing a charge of unlawful use of an emergency phone number, 911. Her arrest stems from an incident last week in Pahrump. The Nye County Sheriff's Office says a person called 911 saying an unknown woman, later identified as Rittersdorf, was in their yard yelling for someone to call 911. Rittersdorf had walked away before officers arrived, but they found her nearby, walking from house to house, screaming to call 911. Deputies say when they asked Rittersdorf what kind of help she needed, she told them she was being stalked by Nye County Sheriff's Office detectives. However, deputies say upon further questioning, Rittersdorf admitted she did not have an emergency need. The Sheriff's Office says in the previous week they'd received other 911 calls from Rittersdorf calling to report incidents that were later determined to be untrue. Rittersdorf was placed under arrest and transported to the Nye County Detention Center for booking.
All right, don't grab that remote. We're giving you all the financial news you need from Nye County all the way to Wall Street when News 25 returns.
You're watching News 25, the most recognized and farthest reaching local news in Nye County. News 25, local news you can count on.
Welcome back. Investors are pumping nearly $2.5 billion into online brokerage Robinhood, and manufacturing takes a slight dip in January.
Here's Angela Miles with today's Business First Brief.
Topping our news, Robinhood, the online trading brokerage at the center of those wild moves in stocks, including GameStop, just raised a ton of cash. Robinhood raised $2.4 billion from investors. Online trading is extremely popular right now. The company states it's a sign everyday Americans are taking control of their own financial futures. Many are investing for the first time through Robinhood. The company plans to put some of that money towards financial literacy. Checking the economy, the ISM index dipped to a 58.7 in January from a 60.5 in December. Economists predicted a 60 for January. Any number above 50 indicates growth in manufacturing. Factories have been ramping up as Americans buy more cars and electronics while doing less traveling and dining out.
To find out where you can see us every day, go to businessfirstam.com.
Thanks, Angela. Turning now to local economic news. At a recent Board of County Commissioners meeting, Savannah Rucker provided a report to the commissioners about the current financial status of the county.
Revenues look good. Property taxes up, consolidated taxes up from budget. We did budget conservatively, but that was in anticipation of COVID just wreaking havoc on our financials. We are still watching the market, trying to anticipate what's going to happen, but projections look good for the rest of the fiscal year. We are watching all departments' expenditure lines closely. We did budget a vacancy savings rate in all departments in the general fund associated with the COVID crisis in anticipation of turnover in departments that occurs naturally within Nye County. We have some departments that haven't had turnover. We will have to deal with that budget issue towards the end of the fiscal year. 2 departments have services and supplies that are over budget. The Sheriff's Office as well as the miscellaneous overhead department. Sheriff's Office is due to underfunding in the services and supply budget, and I'll be bringing forward a request to approve a calculation for services and supply budget for all departments at the next meeting. And miscellaneous overhead funds all of the unfunded mandates for the county, and there have been significant changes to that. So that is what is happening with that particular department. A couple of funds that we will likely need to review closer to the end of the year is the jail fund, which is supported by an ICE contract. I don't know what this current president is going to do with regards to ICE. That contract could go away. If that contract is removed, we may have to assess how to manage that revenue loss. The building fund, we are seeing permits far in excess of what we anticipated. Within that fund, we have a contract for Charles Abbott that pays them for their building permit review services that is tied to the revenue generated in that fund. So with more revenues comes more expenses, so we will likely need to augment. So just a couple of issues, but my office is watching them closely. In the last audit, we did not have a single budgetary audit finding, which is fantastic. I don't know that that has occurred in the past for Nye County. So we have a great system in place. My team is amazing, and we're watching all of these numbers closely.
Well, Amazon is going to see a little bit less of its famous leader's smile. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos will step down from his role as chief executive later this year and transition to the role of executive chair. He will be replaced by Andy Jassy. Bezos has been Amazon's CEO since its founding in 1995. He oversaw its growth from an online bookseller into a $1.7 trillion global retail and logistics company. Jazzy has worked for Amazon since 1997 and currently serves as the CEO of the company's cloud business, Amazon Web Services, which is its biggest profit driver. Bezos says to its staff that he would like to concentrate on other endeavors.
And SpaceX has one less Starship in its fleet today after a test flight ends with an explosion that destroyed the test vehicle.
SpaceX launched an early prototype of its Starship rocket Tuesday morning from its test facility in Austin, Texas. The high-altitude test flight involves sending Starship SN9 to an altitude of 10 kilometers. That part went as planned, but the return trip ended with a crash landing that destroyed the vehicle. Flight controllers turned off the main engines once the vehicle reached 10 kilometers. At that point, Starship was supposed to enter a controlled descent and land upright on the launch pad, but the vehicle appeared to tumble out of control as it came back to Earth. SpaceX didn't deem the test flight a failure, instead noting that the data collected during these test flights will help its engineers perfect the landing maneuver. The last Starship high-altitude test flight back in December also ended with an explosion that destroyed that test vehicle. SpaceX hopes to one day use the Starship to ferry the first humans to Mars.
I know we're all wondering how much money that was. Well, the COVID-19 crisis in America has given rise to a wide range of both difficulties and innovation, especially in the world of academics. After nearly a year of upheaval, many, but not all, schools were able to meet the challenge of distance learning, which sparked a boom in enrollment for quality online schools, as well as parents getting innovative and starting neighborhood learning pods across the nation. That's just a couple of examples of why it's unlikely that education will ever be the same again in the United States. Kim Martinez reports.
We found out after school had let out on a Friday that we weren't coming back, and that Monday we were already teaching online.
COVID forced schools nationwide to shut their doors when it first hit hard almost a year ago, with most schools having no plan in place of how to proceed.
It's almost as though we're teaching on the moon all of a sudden and just said, you know, you're going to have a lot of questions when you get in there. Good luck.
Schools were scrambling to find a way to teach their students from a safe distance with dramatically different degrees of success. While some made smoother transitions, others had a very bumpy go of it. For many schools, just getting the devices students needed to go virtual proved a challenge that had to be overcome quickly. One Baton Rouge charter school used their buses to distribute both laptops and lunches to families.
All right, thank you. No problem, there we go.
For others, the uncertainty of when schools would reopen prompted tens of thousands of students to switch to the nation's most established online schools, such as K-12.
You don't have to sit in a live session, nor is it appropriate to have a 5 or 6 year old sitting in Zoom from 8 to 3 every day, just doing passive learning.
And then came the boom of innovative learning pods, with parents pooling resources to hire their own teachers to provide a safe, in-person learning environment.
Being in the classroom for a few hours, wearing masks, 6 feet apart, that just didn't feel like enough of a normal learning environment to kind of just leave it there. So we're supplementing with interaction with a trained teacher.
But for some students, especially those with special needs, adjusting to the new reality has been extremely tough.
When we talk to them now, we go, oh my God, what happened? He's doing self-talk and, you know, hiding in the corner or under the desk and now doesn't want to get on the screen. It's very frustrating.
The frustration is also being felt by the 5 million English as a second language learners.
Well, many of our students are living in small, cramped quarters.
Teachers may understand better than anyone how hard this has been on some students, and many of those teachers have hit their breaking point.
It's a lot on the teacher. Excuse me. I haven't cried in like 2 weeks about it. So here it is, it's all pent up.
The full impact of the pandemic is yet to be determined, but without a doubt, and almost in every way, COVID has changed education in America. Kim Martinez reporting.
Insider tips to help you boost your immune system during this pandemic right after this break.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by Canyon Ridge Periodontics. Give them a call at 702-966-0302.
Welcome back to News 25. Well, we all want a healthy immune system to help fight off infection, especially during this current pandemic. But did you know that your diet plays a major role? Cleveland Clinic's Kristen Kirkpatrick says that regularly eating a rainbow of colorful fruits and vegetables is a good place to start.
Some of the obvious things that we always want to look at is antioxidants, phytonutrients. We're going to get those from plant-based whole foods and foods that have a lot of color. So the foods that have a lot of color, that indicates they have a lot of vitamins and minerals.
Kirkpatrick says you should pay special attention to vitamin C, which may help prevent and shorten infections. Vitamin D also supports immune health, but the body doesn't absorb it well from food, so you'll want to consider a supplemental form like D3. She adds gut health is important as well, so be sure you're getting enough probiotics, prebiotics, and fiber.
It's also important to talk about things that make the immune system less likely to perform well. So that is highly processed food, fast foods, added sugars. Those all negatively impact gut health. They all negatively impact the immune system as well.
Kirkpatrick recommends switching to a whole foods diet, which is primarily plant-based, to keep your immune system strong. Regular exercise and good sleep habits will also help immune health.
Well, Nye Communities Coalition is preparing for its quarterly career and volunteer fair. It's a great opportunity for employees and employers to connect. Adult Workforce Programs Manager Ed Kelly says employers will be ready to hire, so come prepared.
It's that time again. It's our quarterly job fair, and this, even with COVID, we're pursuing forward. We're going to have social distancing and sanitation in place. We're trying to get the employers to come on out. I know that a lot of them are 25%, but we want to promote our programs. We have trainings available to help these small businesses in town. We want to support local. We have our on-the-job trainings mainly that we're promoting. Hopefully we can get individuals employed to get them trained with the employers. So come on out. Job seekers, come on out, bring your resumes. We're going to have applications ready and employers ready to interview on site. It's going to be Thursday, February 11th from 5 to 8 p.m. And again on Friday morning, the 12th from 9 to noon. It's going to be at 1020 East Wilson Road. It's in our Nye Activity Center that we call the NAC. And so just come prepared, be ready. They're there at the time, they're ready to interview individuals on site. And make decisions there to fill their openings. So definitely come in, dress for success. That could be your next employer that you're going to be working with.
And for more information about the upcoming career fair or to get assistance with preparing a resume, you can contact Rachel Letty or even Ed Kelly at Nye Communities Coalition. Give them a call, 775-727-9970, or you can even go to their website at nycc.org.
And the biggest football game of the year is this weekend. But the COVID pandemic has changed our lives in many ways. But one thing that hasn't changed, America's love for chicken wings, something that will be very apparent this coming Super Bowl weekend.
Super Bowl weekend is not only a big weekend for football, it's also a big weekend for chicken wings. The National Chicken Council says Americans will devour a record 1.42 billion wings while watching the Kansas City Chiefs and Tampa Bay Buccaneers battle for the Lombardi Trophy. That's up 2% from last year, according to the National Chicken Council's annual wing report. So how many wings is that? Well, picture this. Assuming Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid can eat 3 wings per minute, it would take him more than 900 years to eat 1.42 billion wings. Think about that. The wing report also found restaurants served up 7% more chicken wings in 2020 versus 2019, despite an 11% decline in trips to restaurants. And total U.S. wing retail and supermarket sales during the pandemic months totaled almost $3 billion, up 10.3% from a year ago.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
All right, it's that time of year again. We're getting a bit more sunlight at the end of each day, and look at that beautiful sunset across Pahrump. We'll take a closer look at your weather when News 25 returns.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from the KPVM Channel 25 Weather Studios. Happy Groundhog's Day to you. Word from Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is Phil did, in fact, see his shadow. 6 more weeks. Oh, bummer. But, actually, we're seeing some, warming trends. I already look it up at Fernley. It's already up to 51 degrees for a high today, 29 for a low. Out in Fallon, 56 for a high, 31 for a low. Carson City, 49 for a high, 31 for a low. I guess you're getting a little crispy up there still in Tonopah. But look here, all the way up to 49 with a 24-degree low mark, and that's the low spot in the state. Not too bad. Goldfield, 51 for a high, 25 for a low. Out in Beatty, it's 62 degrees. Gardenette Gateway with that 35-degree temperature at night. Amargosa, you're all the way up to, man, you're almost hitting 70. Look at you, 68 degrees. Same in Las Vegas. Lows in the 41 in Amargosa, 49 in Las Vegas, and out in Death Valley. Catch you while you can. It's still super pleasant at 76 degrees for a high today. 51 for a low here in the paradise of Pahrump, where the grass is green, the air is pure, and everybody's happy. It's wonderful. 63 degrees is our current temperature. High today was 68. I don't know. I'll run out of things eventually, but I like living here. South-southeasterly winds at 10 miles per hour. Humidity at 40%. That gives us a little bit of cloud cover, and this is the sun rose this morning with glorious colors at 6:43 a.m. Set this evening just about a minute ago, like a wink ago, 5:12 p.m. 48 degrees. It will be our low mark tonight, and the winds out of the southeast at 13 miles per hour. We do have a little bit of humidity, leaving us some clouds for the next day anyway, and Wednesday, and then everything kind of blows out. Looks like we're getting some 12, 11-mile-an-hour winds, pretty steady, keeping us clear through the weekend. Clouds returning on Monday, and temperatures rocketing up all the way to 66-degree highs and lows in the, hovering right around 40. I mean, a little on either side. It's going to be a beautiful week as we head towards spring. Thank you, Puxatawny Phil. All right, back to the groundhog desk. It's Unit, Indiana.
All right, those temperatures are creeping up.
Yeah, I like it.
Bit. Yeah.
They look pretty good. Pretty good temperatures. They should stay around there, high 60s, low 70s.
I'll
and then
take that.
We're good.
I'll take that.
Right. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Unat Gentry, and from all of us here at KPVM and 8th Country Radio, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next newscast.
Good night.
Good night.